Right, please be seated. Thank you very much. Okay. I'd like to welcome you all here tonight at the Telford and Wrekin Borough Council's AGM, and a huge welcome goes to to the Lord Lieutenant Sir Algernon Heber Percy. Thank you for coming. Lord and Lady Grocott, Freeman of the Borough, Lieutenant Colonel Nick Jenkins representing the Rifles, the Consul General of India, Dr. Arman Puri, and all the community faith leaders that I'm hugely welcome here tonight. Can I now ask for the Councillor Rob Sloan to read out the declaration on behalf of all the members. So if all members can now stand.
Colleagues, aware of our responsibilities to promote democracy and the well-being of all local people, on behalf of the Council, I make this recommitment to our office as elected representatives. Elected to serve the public good, we recognise that public office is a privilege granted by the people and not a right. We, elected representatives of the people of Telford and Wrekin, declare that we will, to the best of our ability, uphold the Council's constitution and serve the community above any private or personal interest.
Can all members remain standing, as I can ask Reverend Keith Osmond-Smith to say prayers.
Good evening, everyone. I'll try to keep this to less than 13 minutes. So, here we are again. We come from our scattered lives, perhaps in this quiet moment to meet with God, and as we are able to do so, to recognize his presence with us. God of our days and years, we set this time apart for you. May your peace and love reign here, we pray. God of peace and love, quieten our hearts and help us to be still in your presence. We find this so hard to do, for our lives are full of noise and confusion. A host of demands and responsibilities press in on us from every side, and they consume our time and sap our energy. So, God of peace and love, we offer you now this little space we have made in the frantic scramble of our lives. Meet with us so that we may know an inner tranquility and a resolve that we may use all of our time more effectively in the service both of your kingdom and your people. We know there will always be occasions when we disagree with one another, for we are all different. We each have our own way of looking at the world and our own unique experience of life. But help us to see such diversity as a blessing rather than a threat. And forgive us the pride and insecurity that prevents this, leading us instead to nurse anger or bitterness and resentments in our hearts. Teach us to admit our mistakes whenever we're in the wrong. And when the fault lies with others, teach us to forgive freely as we are forgiven. We give you thanks for this borough of Telford and Wrekin, for the way it continues to grow and prosper in all of its diversity. We give thanks for our elected councillors of the Borough Council, for women and men who are prepared to sacrifice so much of their own lives in the service of others, and for those who serve the needs of this borough. We thank you for the devoted and sacrificial work of the Mayor and Mayoress during this last year, and we commit to your care and protection the newly elected Mayor and Mayoress. Each one is called in turn to make a difference, to bring joy, hope and promise to the citizens whom they serve, and to help provide a sense of purpose and faith in the future. In the deliberations and decision of this Council tonight and at all other times throughout the coming year, Our God, we ask that you grant wisdom, courage, and compassion in all these matters. Teach us, each one, to be salt of the earth, fit for use in your service, to the glory of your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. Next is the election of the Mayor for 2018-19. Can I ask for nominations for the position of Mayor? Councillor Angela Clements.
Thank you. It's an honour and a pleasure to propose Councillor Raj Mehta for Mayor of Telford Wrekin. He's someone who truly reflects our wonderful, diverse community here in Telford Wrekin. And it's also great to see so many of his family, friends and colleagues here tonight to support Raj, in particular his amazing wife Poonan, who I know will be a fantastic consort over the next year. And of course not forgetting his two boys, who Raj has said have become his inspiration to make a difference in whatever way he can. I would also like to welcome to Telford the Indian Consulate from Birmingham. First time in Telford, I understand, and it's great to have you here in Telford's 50th year. We also have members of the Dorley Bank Hindu temples, so an excellent turnout in support of Councillor Mehta. Welcome, everyone. I've had the delight of knowing Raj for a number of years. It's his infectious enthusiasm and energy for all things community that makes him really stand out. And his theme for the year is bringing communities together, and that truly epitomises Raj. Nothing is too much trouble for Raj, always thinking of those in need, always ready to help and always with dignity. He will be an excellent ambassador for Telford in its 50th celebration year. Raj has worked at a GP practice for the past 10 years. His passion is our beloved National Health Service and a belief in trying to improve the quality of life of residents by raising awareness of mental health issues and re-educating on healthy eating and community engagement to bring about ways to provide support to those that are vulnerable, lonely and isolated. Many of you will know that Raj has a massive following on WhatsApp. And every morning, any time from 6 to 7, I get a loud ping on my phone, as I'm sure many other members in this chamber do. That's Raj sending his inspirational message for the day to all his followers, and it's become my alarm clock now. So keep them coming, Raj. Hope you're elected as Mayor, and have a great year. Thank you.
Can I ask for Councillor Paul Watling to second the proposal?
Speaker, I'm happy to second Councillor Raj Mehta as Mayor this year. Raj, as Councillor McClements has pointed out, is dedicated to our NHS and is a fundraising community champion. Having been to one of his events this year, I would warn all members to have their wallets and purses ready when we attend any of his events next year. Local charities will benefit greatly from this committed and dedicated Mayor. I'm proud to second this nomination.
Thank you. Can I inquire if there are any other nominations for the role of Mayor for 2018-19? Okay, thank you. Right, I can therefore ask for a vote to be taken, and so if everyone is for Raj Mehta, or Councillor Raj Mehta, to be Mayor for 2018-19, please show your hands. It's carried. It's carried. So thank you very much. Can I ask, therefore, if Raj can proceed down the hall to take over the chain?
Next will be election of Speaker. Can I ask for nominations?
Mr. Mayor, I nominate Mr. Malcolm Smith to be Speaker. Malcolm is well known, and I'm sure that he'll do a fine job.
Can I have a seconder, please?
Thank you, Mayor. It's my great pleasure to second the nomination of Malcolm Smith, our fellow ward member. I know that he will be a very fair speaker to the council, but I should warn colleagues who perhaps not experienced Malcolm in the chair. He is a fan of the long-running Radio 4 show, Just a Minute, so repetition will not be tolerated.
Any other nominations? Okay, could I have a vote? Those in favour? Okay, that's fine. That's carried. Malcolm Smith, could you come up, please?
Can I say a few words?
Is it now?
You can say it now. Could you put your hand over to me?
Before I hand over to Malcolm, I just want to say a few words. Thanks, Malcolm. Thank you. Lord Lieutenant Sir Algeron, Lord and Lady Grocott, Lieutenant Colonel Nick Jenkins, Deputy Lieutenant, Consular General of India Dr. Amanpuri, faith leaders, distinguished guests, visitors, and my dear family and councillors. It is a great honour and privilege to be elected to represent the Borough of Telford and Wrekin, council and community as the first citizen. At such an exciting time during the town's 50th birthday celebrations, I would like to thank my fellow councillors for the confidence you have placed in me to carry out this role. I now find myself in the exciting and also daunting position of representing the borough as its mayor. I will endeavour to fulfil my mayoral duties with honesty and honour appropriate to the office. I would also like to thank Councillor Steve Reynolds for his constant support during time as I was his deputy mayor. Councillor Steve Reynolds was on a steep learning curve himself, but he always found time to share the benefit of his experience with me. Councillor Steve Reynolds and Councillor Sherry Reynolds both have proven to be excellent ambassadors for the borough. Although the majority of attendees here today know me, I have still put together a small background on myself and my link to Telford and Wrekin. 12 years ago, I came to live in Telford and Wrekin, and I have to say it was the best decision of my life. Telford Wrekin is not only diverse and vibrant, but also has such a caring community. Since my 12 years, the community in the borough has brought me much joy and stability to me and my family, and it is with pride and honour that I can call it my home. Firstly, I would like to thank my Guruji. With his blessing, I'm here today, and with his teachings, I'm doing what I'm doing today. As all this wouldn't be without his blessings, I would also like to thank my wife, my 2 sons, my mother, for giving me the strength and by supporting me along the way, especially the way with me, greet me with a smile, even if after I've been attending back-to-back functions, which, as we all know, takes up family time. However, knowing I have their support gives me all the strength and willpower to focus on what I am doing. I hope I can inspire you, the people of Telford and Wrekin, to join me to build a stronger community. It is my vision for the borough to bring communities and organisations together by working together to build the relationship with our younger generation, who are the future of Telford and Wrekin, and also our older generation, who have helped to make Telford the fantastic town it is today. We need to address the well-being of all, whether that be the young or the old, interfaith or those that are vulnerable, isolated or have mental health or learning difficulties. By caring for the needs of the people of Telford Wrekin, we can ensure that we continue to provide the town with excellent and efficient local services and maintain the wonderful reputation it has attained. I hope that you will join me when I launch my new mayoral fund to establish Telford Wrekin Communities Together grant scheme. More details will follow. Thank you very much.
Mr Mayor, Lord Lieutenant, Lord Grocott. It seems I've never left this top table. In the 48 years that I have been a member of this authority, I've been here on various occasions, or if I haven't been here, I've been leading a committee. But every time you have this honour given to you, it still is a challenge, and it's something that you tend to look forward to. Now, most of the members know me, so do an awful lot of the general public. But as was referred to earlier on, I don't stand people repeating themselves, because all it does is prolong the meeting. And once you've heard it once, maybe twice, then fair enough. I think the message has got home and has sunk in. So you might find that if I look at you hard, and particularly if I do that, I'm not asking you to cut your throat, I'm just asking you to shut up. However, I pledge that I will certainly support our Mayor. We will be in each other's company on many occasions, I'm sure. And I pledge my loyalty to the Labour group and all my fellow councillors. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Can I take nominations for Deputy Speaker?
I'd like to nominate my colleague, Councillor Rob Sloan, for the position of Deputy Speaker. As most on the council will know, he's a very competent and capable person to do that job. He's very experienced at it. And as a football supporter, he has been known to use yellow and red cards to control meetings when getting out of hand, and he's assured me that he won't hesitate to use that method again should it be necessary. I'd like to propose Councillor Rob Sloan.
Have we seconded?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'd like to second the proposal for Councillor Rob Sloan as Deputy Speaker. I have nothing to add as what Councillor Andy Burford has said.
Are there any further nominations? No? Then I declare Councillor Rob Sloan as Deputy Speaker. All those in favour? Thank you. Rob? I'll move slightly from this. Rob, is there anything you'd like to say about having been elected? Well, I'll give you when I'm going on holiday. Now, item 7 on your agenda, members, the election of a deputy mayor for 2018-19. Can I call on Councillor Hilda Rhodes?
Thank you, Speaker. I would like to propose Stephen Reynolds as Deputy Mayor. I mean, what can I say about Stephen? For the last 12 months, he has proved himself to be a great ambassador for this borough. So I'm sure he will be a great asset to our new Mayor, Raj, and I hope they both have a very good year.
We call on Councillor Lee Carter to second the proposal.
Thank you, Speaker. I'd like to second the nomination of Councillor Stephen Reynolds as Deputy Mayor. Amongst the many qualities required by good public servants, there are three which stand out in Councillor Reynolds for me: kindness, fairness and sense of duty. The latter is impeccable, as he has shown not just through his mayoral year, but also in his time elected to this chamber and others across the borough. He's passionate not only about the people he represents, he's passionate about Telford, and he's also passionate about promoting the best of Telford. There are few better candidates to do this role as well as Steve.
Thank you. Does any other member wish to contribute? No. Can we take a vote on Councillor Lee Carter? No, I'm not going to vote for him. Can we take a vote on the nomination? All those in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? 1, 2. It's carried. Therefore, Hilda? Yeah. Steve, I've said this to you on previous occasions over the years. You know, why don't you either buy a hearing aid or move closer to the centre of the hall? Oh, no, I don't think you'll. Don't aspire to sit here. Right. Therefore, Councillor C. Reynolds be appointed for the ensuing year of 1988-89. Next item on the agenda, can I call on Councillor Arnold England to move a vote of thanks to Councillor Stephen Reynolds, the retiring Mayor.
Thank you, Speaker. I'll keep this short. I believe Shirley wants some quality time with her man. She hasn't seen much of him the last year. Stephen Reynolds, Mayor of the Borough. It has a lovely, nice ring to it. Stephen has served the borough with distinction, with manner and with grace. Ably supported, of course, by Paige Mitchell and the team in Member Services. And a vote of thanks to her and them from us. I have seen Steve in action. When I turn up to an event, whether it be in Wolverhampton for a graduation ceremony, he got to the lunch before I did, or Stafford for an awards evening, he got to kiss the presenter, I didn't. He is there, beaming smile, flowing locks, damn it, shaking hands and just being the nice person he is. I understand he has attended over 250 functions or events. That's equivalent to one every working day, but I'm sure there was more than one on some days. Many of them with his illustrious mayoress. She has to go with him to spend some time with him, otherwise she wouldn't see him. I understand she has some special time lined up for him this evening. a curry or something. Stephen has that unique quality of putting people at their ease. He is there for them, not for himself. This is unusual for a politician. Many like the sound of their own voice. However, Stephen and myself, we like to hear what others, what they are doing, how they are helping others to cope or succeed. By turning up at an event with his badge of office and his demob suit, he brings credibility to their purpose. Did you get that, demob suit? No, you younger ones wouldn't know. He shows that we care. We may not have much in the way of funds these days, but we do show that we care about people and communities. So it's only another 6 pages. Stephen is particularly good with old people, especially those with mobility problems, those who can't get away when he stops for a chat. I understand there have been many letters of thanks from businesses and organisations that Stephen has visited. Again, evidence of Stephen bringing the council close to people who rely on us for services or support. So on behalf of councillors and the communities Stephen has supported, I move a vote of thanks to Stephen Reynolds, Mayor of Telford and Wrekin. Thank you.
Councillor Overton, I think you're going to second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't know how to follow that, but it's a real privilege to second the vote of thanks for Steve. Steve has been a fabulous mayor who has worked hard to both promote the borough of Telford and Wrekin, but also raise much needed funds for a charity so close to your heart. Steve has taken to the role like a natural. His down-to-earth nature makes everyone instantly feel at ease, as Arnold has said, and he has brought a little bit of fun to the role too, and shown everyone what can be achieved by knowing that as mayor you can do anything, even ride on camels. Thank you, Steve, for the time and effort you have put in over the last 12 months. You have not just done the civic duties, but also the community ones too. That means so much to so much people, like handing out water in South Telford when the main water pipe had burst. Thanks must also go to your family for their support and understanding when you have been away on numerous duties, and of course to Shirley, the Mayoress, who has also been with you at lots of events and has also jumped, or should I say straddled, camels again, wholeheartedly into the role. Thank you both for making the last year so special and also in helping this, our 50th year, start so well.
Are there any other members who wish to be included in the vote of thanks? Councillor Scott.
The mic, oh, it is working. It is working, thank you. More than I am. Okay, well, just wanted to mention that my year last year was my first year as Deputy Mayor of Newport, which meant I had to go to some events where Stephen and Shirley were there, and I couldn't think of anyone else who put me at my ease from the very start, really, to the point that he's such a nice guy. He puts you at ease so much that you actually look forward to the next event that he'll be there. And he seems to be at them all. Now, wherever I went, there was Stephen and Shirley. But he has been such a great ambassador for Telford and Wrekin. He's someone that has time for everybody. He has a word for everybody. And from my point of view, I can see that he's genuinely interested in people. I think he's one of those that is a one-off. I'm glad he's going to become the Arnold Schwarzenegger of Telford and Wrekin, because looking at him, he'll be back. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Peter. Are there any other members? Oh, Veronica Fletcher.
Thank you, Speaker. I'd like to follow all that's been said and say congratulations to Stephen for his good year in office. I know how hard it is, how many hours you have to put in to work for the public, for the community, but you do it because you love it. So thank you both and to Shirley for a wonderful year of representing Telford and Wrekin. And can I just say how much I enjoyed your mayoral ball It was fun. So roll on the next one. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Councillor Fletcher. Anyone else? No. Therefore, members, can I put the proposition of a vote of thanks to the retiring Mayor? All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. What are we on now? This one. Right. Yes, can I call upon our Mayor to make a presentation to Councillor Stephen Reynolds and Councillor Shirley Reynolds as a reminder of their time in office? Councillor Reynolds, I call on you to reply to the vote of thanks.
I'd just like to thank you all for the kind words that has been said about myself and Shirley. But my Lord Lieutenant, Lord and Lady Grocott, distinguished guests, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a great honour and a privilege to represent the Borough of Telford and Wrekin, the community and the council as the first citizen over the past year. The mayoral year has been an absolute whirlwind, with well over 250 events attended, each different from each other. However, I never would have thought that I would end up on 4 in a bed, judging Yorkshire puddings, or wearing a pancake on my head at a charity event at the ice rink. And I think the Mayoress would have something to say about riding camels, which has been mentioned before, but she didn't get the hump at all. But amongst all the fun, I would like to thank all the numerous community and volunteering groups who give so much of their time and effort and are at the heart of the caring community which makes us Telford and proud. I've been very fortunate to see at first hand the fruits of our business supporting business winning council, attending the opening of new businesses, which is great that we are able to see that even in our 50th year, Telford remains a vibrant, exciting new town for new businesses, and we continue to be Team Telford. Team Telford is at the heart of everything that we do. The amazing community spirit where we all pull together was evident just a few doors away from my home. Everybody, businesses, volunteers, residents, all pulled together to ensure that young Matthew Cooper came home from hospital. And DIY SOS demonstrated what communities can do when they work together. As a vote of thanks, I would like to thank Councillor Raj Mehta, my valued deputy, for his support throughout this year. And I wish him and his family all the very best for the coming year. My special thanks, however, goes to Paige, who has kept me in order throughout this busy year. She is an absolute diamond and deserves a lot of credit in the success of the running of the Mayor's office. My thanks also to Jane and Stacey for their continuing support of the Mayor and tonight's event. And I've got a token of my appreciation to Jane and Stacey. So if they, where are they? They're gone. How dare they go home? So there we go. All right, that's all right. All right. Just a little something. Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate Paige and knowledge and just an understanding of my role as Mayor, and this is my appreciation to all the hard work that you've done for the past year and undoubtedly future years as well. So just a little something. Okay. My love, affection and grateful thanks is for my wife, the Mayoress. Shirley has steadfastly been a rock for me, supporting what has been a year that has been non-stop and a year that we will never forget. Also thanks to my children, Graham and Gilly, even if one of them has been known to say, "We never see you, as I am a mayoral orphan." Right, as you are aware, my chosen charity throughout this year has been the Seven Hospice. A charity that I've said on many occasions is close to my heart. And it's very close to many families across the borough. I've worked closely with them as a volunteer over the past 7 years. And I would like to thank everybody who has supported the events during the year, raising much needed funds for the hospice to contribute to provide specialist care and support for people who are living with complex and progressive illness, aiming to sustain quality of life, relief from pain and other distressing symptoms. The hospice also offers support and counselling to their families and carers. I am personally very grateful to Seven Hospice in so many ways, and I can honestly say they saved my life. And I know I would not be here today if it wasn't for their help and support through a very difficult, dark time in my life, having been given a very bleak diagnosis 10, 11 years ago. But I am living proof of the need for the hospice and why we must always remain positive and support such a valuable and vital resource in our community. I am pleased to announce that together we have raised £7,091 to the Seven Hospice this year. There's a bit of money due to come in, but can I ask for Heather Palin, who is the Deputy Chief Exec of the hospice, to come down and accept this cheque for all the work that the Seven Hospice does on behalf of myself and for the community in Telford and Wrekin and Shropshire as a whole. So thank you, Heather.
Okay, I don't want to take up your time, but I do just formally want to say thank you to Steve for choosing us as his charity to support this year and to galvanise people to raise an amazing amount of money. It couldn't come at a more important time as the hospice is continuing to develop its services. We will be adding extra beds to Telford very shortly, which opened 11 years ago, can you believe? So we're about to enter a public appeal to raise even more funds to develop our services. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Heather. All right, thank you. Before I finalise things, this is just a little something for my beloved wife, Shirley. All right, thank you. This year has been an absolute pleasure. I've been honoured and humbled to have been given this role. I just hope I have done my fellow councillors and more importantly, my hometown proud. And I'd like to thank you all for that opportunity to do what I love doing. So, thank you all.
That completes the formal agenda for the AGM. However, we now move over to an ordinary meeting of the council. Don't worry, it's not going to take that long. But can I call on Deborah Mosley? Where are you, Deborah?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have apologies this evening from Councillors Eric Carter, Liz Clare and Kevin Guy.
Any further apologies? No? All in favour, we accept them? Oh, there's always one comes up later. Adrian Meredith. Anyone else? We accept them? Please show. Thank you. Anyone against? No. Item 11. Declarations of interest. I call upon the Democratic Scrutiny Services team leader to read out any declarations of interest and to invite further from the floor. These are to be in relation to the matters of the agenda only. And when I say the agenda only, I mean the back part of the agenda.
None received, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. None received. Item 12, minutes of the council. I know you did. I'm just rather surprised that you've actually spoken. Oh, I knew that. I have a seconder. Richard. All those in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? No. Can I call on the leader, Councillor Sean Davies, to address the meeting? Now, I've got a time set down on this. I hope you won't use all those minutes.
Of course not, Mr. Speaker. Welcome, everybody. This year is a year to remember for many reasons, most notable, which is our Telford at 50 anniversary. The 50th anniversary is a chance to look back on our achievements, to celebrate Telford and its people. It's a chance to look at how we've changed during that time, but also, importantly, it's a chance to look forward at a bright and exciting future. We've come such a long way in a very short space of time. The public's appetite to get involved in Telford at 50 celebrations has been phenomenal. It underlines how the community here come together to get involved. We have been inundated with ideas and suggestions on how to celebrate this event, from community groups to schools, to businesses and to members of the public. So many people want to get involved because, like me, they are so proud of the town and the borough. Just look at the level of involvement right from the outset. People wanted to be involved in Telford at 50. More than 5,000 people gave their views on the design of our logo. Over 1,500 people took part in our consultation to say what they wanted to be a legacy for this special year. And more than 100 people have volunteered to be golden event makers, known as our gems. We have been inundated with bids from community groups and organisations to host their own Telford at 50 events and schemes, ranging from music days, talent shows, sporting contests and community get-togethers, and indeed a 50-mile walking trail right around our special town. Almost 50 of these events taking place in this special anniversary year. Meanwhile, businesses are doing their own things to celebrate the milestone. We've had around 50 entries for our Telford 50 award category at the Shropshire Business Awards, and we will be announcing the winner of that award in due course. During the spring and the summer, we've hosted a range of free and paid-for public events. That began with St George's themed Spring into St George's Day event in Telford Town Park, which attracted 10,000 people. And this month, Mr Speaker, we had the fantastic Balloon and Kite Festival, which was massively successful, attracting 30,000 visitors to Telford, many from right across the country, and indeed putting on a special show for our residents. Seeing Telford on the national TV, the regional TV, and right across social media for all the right reasons was a fantastic demonstration for our town. And Mr Speaker, we've brought back the balloons, and we will seek to keep the balloons in the air. In the coming weeks, we have Telford's Carnival of Giants and the Place in the Park event, which is for 2 weeks, will be in August. We'll bring big, top quality entertainment in the heart of our town park. Separately, we are now sifting through dozens of bids from community groups for funding from the Telford at 50 Legacy Fund to help refurbish public facilities and buildings. Meanwhile, the borough's 5 town high streets have bidded for a total of £1 million of investment. Every high street, every community will benefit as a result of Telford at 50. The £2 million Legacy Fund is also supporting a range of other schemes which will really enhance our borough. These include ensuring the iconic Spider's Web climbing frame, enjoyed by so many young people right across the decades, will continue for many years to come. It will also refurbish the Telford Courts area around the town centre, and finally giving light to our prominent and iconic Iron Bridge to show off one of the biggest attractions in the region after dark. And we've also had 2,000 votes in our borough's Big Green Vote to choose 50 green guarantee sites across the borough, as we will announce those 50 of those sites who got the most votes, as well as protecting over 200 green spaces from development. Mr Speaker, no one in Telford and Wrekin has been untouched by the news coverage recently of child sexual exploitation in our town. With cases going back for nearly 4 decades, many of those victims and survivors are my age and as part of my generation of Telford young people. These stories have been shocking, harrowing, and have made us even more determined to get the truth that victims and survivors seek. This is an issue here and an issue, unfortunately, right across the country. The Council has not and will never ignore it. We've always been determined to ensure that Telford is at the leading edge, both in terms of best practice and in prevention and in support. We will continue to deal with the new and current cases with absolute compassion at the highest level of professional standards. Over the coming months, a Council's commissioned independent inquiry will examine practices both past and present. It's imperative that this inquiry is independent and as far removed from the political process as it can be. It will be done thoroughly and with complete transparency. It will involve survivors to help the inquiry. It will ultimately provide the platform to campaigners, survivors and their families so they have the confidence that they have been heard. It will give them the confidence that their influence today is helping avoid a potential victim of tomorrow. And it will provide them and us with confidence to be able to ask questions of others who have responsibility for dealing with this issue from a national perspective. But our work on this isn't going to begin and end with an inquiry. Every day, since assuming control of the Council, we have worked tirelessly on this issue. We've continued to invest heavily in our amazing child abuse through exploitation team, Kate, and our wider safeguarding services. We are continually engaging with others areas to ensure that we have the best practices, and including those towns, most recently Rochdale and Rotherham, to learn from them too. But most importantly, we are committed to retaining the trust and confidence of survivors, their families and their wider community. Our teams continue to engage on a daily basis with campaigners, survivors and other organisations on this issue. Most of this engagement will not be subject to a tweet or a Facebook post or a press release or publicised, but it is happening, and it will continue whilst one person remains at risk of this terrible crime. Let us be clear together, this vile crime is an issue that crosses many public services in the borough, particularly the police and health services. Indeed, many of these issues reported in the media rest with partner services. I will never shy away from accepting and regretting that this council in the past made mistakes and non-recent practices were not effective as they should have been. Awareness and perceptions of child sexual exploitation then are very different than now. That is why it is vital that the council works even more strongly with a wide range of partners to bring them closer and continue to learn from the mistakes of the past and ensure that we are working together to make our borough a safe place for our children. We and every council, police force and other partner agencies across the country must continue to work even harder with all the communities across the UK to tackle this crime. Mr Speaker, like our White Ribbon Award, which we mark the 5th anniversary of this year, this council, this borough, this community can lead the way when it comes to dealing with child sexual exploitation, just like we did with domestic violence. Mr Speaker, when residents feel safe, warm, worthwhile in work or in education, residents contribute positively to our town and to our borough, and our borough is then a better place. Look at what we did with youth unemployment. In 2013, youth unemployment was at 32%. Now we have more than half that to 12.5%. Thanks to our business-winning, business-supporting agenda, our award-winning and nationally recognised Job Rocks programme, and over £2 million of this council's investment, we have tackled this blight. 18 months ago, our young people not in education, employment or training stood at 12%, and we have halved this to 6%. We will not rest. We will continue to bring these numbers down further. Mr Speaker, another blight on our society is homelessness. It is a scandal that the fifth richest country in the world, should have the issue of rough sleeping in our town and increasing numbers who are in temporary accommodation or sofa surfing. So I can announce that as part of the Telford at 50 legacy funding, we will set aside £100,000 and the creation of an advisory panel of local agencies to advise myself and the Deputy Leader to bring down and eradicate this issue. By 2020, I want us to be a borough that has eradicated rough sleeping and half the number of those in temporary accommodation. This requires the work of us all together, and I will be contacting government agencies and the Combined Authority to seek match funding for this investment. In the last year, Pride in Our Community was launched, dealing with the issues that are important to residents, whether that be roads, streets, litter, fly tipping, recycling, community safety, parks, green spaces. Not the sort of things necessarily people spend a lot of time thinking about unless something goes wrong. We have 626 miles of roads, 743 miles of footpaths, 132 cycleways, 20,000 streetlights, 120 roundabouts, 400 parks and open spaces, and 15 million trees. In 2017, £45 million was set aside for a 3-year Pride in Our Community programme to invest in maintaining and improving our roads and paths and highway structures, our high streets, our parks and our green spaces. The latest findings by the Department for Transport show that the condition of our roads are better than the regional and national averages, which is quite an achievement given the current financial challenges we are facing. Our aim over the next 12 months is to go further, improve our road network and our highways assets. In 1819, £7.5 million will be invested in delivering 340 schemes right across the borough, another 400 residential parking spaces to make our residential our estates future-proof, an investment of £750,000, more than £1.5 million invested in improving and upgrading our footpaths, another 10,000 streetlights upgraded and improved to the LED technology. The message is clear, however, for those small numbers who do not wish to play by the rules, those who wish to fly tip, not to clean up after their dog, or just generally make life a nuisance for other residents. We will come after you and we will hold you to account. That's why we've upskilled 40 of our officers in powers to investigate and enforce through the issuing of fixed penalty notices or preparing for prosecution. And the results are stark. In the last 10 months alone, the Council has issued over 200 fixed penalty notices, a 20-fold increase over the preceding 10 months for a range of offences. Thanks to our approach to dealing with illegal traveller encampments, we are also the envy of neighbouring authorities. We have one of the lowest numbers of illegal travelling encampments in the West Midlands. In 2013, there were 521, and last year there was only 27. Mr. Speaker, we can't do this together. We need our residents to help us, and I'm delighted that we have now got 329 street champions helping us day in and day out. 13 parish environmental teams, which are jointly funded by councils, this council, parish and town councils, which cover 80% of the population. Our mission is now clear. It's to build on the good work and become an even better, even cleaner, greener, community-focused council and borough. As a business-supporting, business-winning council, as has already been mentioned, Mr. Speaker, we punch above our weight. In the last 2 years alone, we've attracted more than £250 million of investment, £250 million in the last 2 years alone, which has created around 1,000 jobs and safeguarded many, many more. We've proved this council can be at the forefront of innovation. That includes securing Magna International, whose multi-million-pound investment resulted in their formal opening of T54 last month, which I was delighted to attend. Them coming here is a big deal. We've competed with many other sites right across the country and Europe to secure that deal. Other businesses supported through the council include the Polytech giant from Austria, the Kramer Group from Germany, and more locally expanding businesses such as Rosewood Pet Products and many, many more. Another major achievement for this council was securing £3.7 million from the West Midlands Combined Authority. For those who said we should not join with our neighbours in the Combined Authority area, through this one grant alone, that is 150 years' worth of membership fees in one grant alone. In the face of such huge cuts, it could have been easy to sell off our services, to merge services with other authorities, to completely stop doing certain functions. It would be easy just to let the market do its work, take our chances and see what happens. But no, we've taken control of our destiny. We are retaining businesses, attracting new investment, creating new jobs for residents, unlocking millions of pounds of investments into our infrastructure, generating millions of pounds to protect safe frontline services. Mr. Speaker, it would be remiss of me not to talk about the hospital situation today. Next week, a consultation will begin. 2 options on the table to reconfigure hospital services in Shropshire and Telford Wrekin. Future Fit has cited a number of issues in respect of why they are doing this. But let me be very clear, Mr. Speaker, there are no winners in the Future Fit process, only losers. However, there are 2 options on the table, and myself, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of all councillors, will fight tooth and nail to retain our Women's and Children's Unit, our consultant-led Women's and Children's Unit, together with our A&E. And my message 2 years ago to health bosses was to work together to avoid the fight, and my message is clear today. If you try and mislead our residents, you will be found out, and we take nothing off the table, including judicial review and referral to the Secretary of State, if you push on with the madness of closing a £28 million Women's and Children's Unit opened 3 years ago in the centre of the youngest population in this county. Mr. Speaker, I just want to conclude in saying that Telford is a proud town. Telford and Wrekin is a proud borough, and we have much to be proud about, much to shout loudly about, but undoubtedly over the coming decades there will be big challenges to confront. But together, our borough's future is bright and it can be successful if we work together to overcome those challenges and disadvantages. We work together with our residents, our businesses, our community groups, and as councillors to make Telford Wrekin the best borough it can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Now I'm going to give the opposition leaders the opportunity to reply. You will have a maximum of 10 minutes each. And I call on Councillor Andrew Eade to speak first, if he so desires.
Is that up? Yep, that's working. Thank you very much, Speaker, and congratulations on your appointment. We seem to have been in these respective positions before, have we not? Which have proved quite interesting in the past, and I personally hope they'll prove quite interesting in the future. And, of course, I do wish you well, Councillor Smith, on your new appointment. I've always been of the opinion that these really should be a civic occasion, and that politics really, at the AGM, should be put to one side. And that is something in 12 months' time that we may well see, that we do stop this sort of knockabout at such times as this. And I think it should be a celebration of a time for the council to come together, to join together in a civic occasion and review the year to date. And it's been quite an interesting year. I will deal with one or two issues that have been raised by the leader of the council. And the first one is that line in the sand, as I remember it, around the women and children's units and the PRH. The leader of the council promised this council and community that you would protect the new £28 million women and children's unit no matter what, and make sure that it stayed at the Princess Royal Hospital. You've failed to do that so far. Despite many bellicose threats, you seem to have lost that battle completely. Now, I'm one that never says die, to be quite honest, and we keep on fighting. The council's campaign has been an unmitigated disaster and has utterly failed in its aims and intentions. And I refer back to the first campaign by your predecessor, which was a softly under the radar campaign. That was a disaster. That was not the way to deal with an issue that was facing us. So where is the action that you threatened? What was the point in destroying working relationships with decision makers in the NHS and elsewhere? How did that actually achieve anything, and how has that contributed to getting us towards the position that we're in now? We went through this fight, a very similar fight a few years ago, and we won it. But we won it by working with consultants, by working with the NHS, and showing some determination, of course, when that was necessary. Let's face it, despite the availability of record funding for the local NHS of £312 million, this council has no influence where it will be spent in any shape or form. That is a failure of mammoth proportions. And we hear again threats of judicial review. Well, as I understand it, Councillor, judicial review is done on process. And that's where you make an application to the High Court. That's gone. A lot of that has already been dealt with. You had the opportunity to do it, and you didn't. You threatened to do it, and you didn't. You didn't deliver on it. Now, you're going to have to go through process on the consultation. That is the only way I can see that you can actually perceive any possible, however small, chance now of pursuing a judicial review. Now, that doesn't help anybody. The horse has already gone, as I say. We're in a position here now where much of this fight has been lost. Relationships have been damaged, and the council seems to be at odds with everybody. That is not helpful, and that is not the way to run a local authority. The biggest issue facing the borough at this time are the instances of CSE and CSA. That's child sexual abuse. And that is something we also need to consider as we try to get an independent inquiry into place. However, I'm pleased that you mentioned it in your address, and you're quite right to do so. The situation, the inquiry, the process into the inquiry itself has become flawed. At least you've moved away from your original position 20 months ago by writing to the Home Secretary and stating that an inquiry wasn't needed. However, it has now stalled. We are at an impasse. This situation is extremely concerning and needs a resolution. And to this end, I once again request a cross-party discussion on the way forward as originally offered by your administration, but has failed to deliver on that promise. On such an important issue, I fail to understand completely your reluctance to do so. We have to work together and cooperate fully to make sure that we correct failures and deliver justice for the survivors of both sexual abuse and sexual exploitation in the borough. We have an opportunity here, and it's an opportunity to put Telford Wrekin on the map as the borough that could be held up as a beacon of excellence to show everybody else how it should be done and say, at least we did it properly. As a borough that provides a lead to any other organisations which need to deal with the same sort of issues, we should be held up as that beacon. Myself and colleagues are ready to meet and work together with you at any time. We remain absolutely committed to a joint approach which is so far sadly lacking, and that really is a detriment to all of us, all elected members and this council itself. If we're going to deal with this and deal with it properly, accept the need for an independent inquiry, and that includes my administration, what we've been fighting for is a complete review, and that covers the time that I was the leader of this council also. And I've nothing to fear from that. If mistakes were made, then we all have to hold our hands up collectively. But we do need that cross-party approach, and that really, really has been sadly lacking from this administration so far. So I look forward to a change in approach.
Councillor Tomlinson.
Mr. Speaker, wasn't expecting to have to speak tonight. Oh, there we go. Hang on. Can you hear me now? Thank you. Well, the general public may be well aware, or maybe not aware, and I shall try and keep this speech very brief, that in 12 months' time or less there's going to be an election. And hence why people sometimes can get overexcited at meetings like this, which are primarily functions where we should be bringing in the mayor. It's a civic function. However, I will, now comments have been made, make some brief comments on this. With regard to the hospital, this group has always been in favour of keeping and retaining the children's unit and also the A&E at the Princess Royal. I think we also need to completely remember that that decision, although it's gone out to consultation, rests solely with the NHS and with that governing body of Future Fit. And the Future Fit is a government body which, although we can try and influence its actions, sometimes the efforts of our MPs may have greater weight than the efforts of the actual local council. And sometimes they have been quiet on these matters when it would have been nice if they'd have been there at the forefront with us. With regard to the inquiry, I echo what I said at the previous meeting. This should always be a victim-led inquiry on behalf of the victims, and hopefully this council will do its utmost, and I'm sure it will, to make sure that victims steer exactly where this inquiry should be led. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Right to reply.
Speaker. I won't be long, and I'm not going to, in front of honoured guests, descend into party political bashing. This isn't the time or place for that. But I want to just pick up on a couple of points. The first point is around our hospital. It seems to me MPs cannot, on the one hand, claim credit to secure the money to transform hospital services, but then escape the blame for the impact of that reconfiguration. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, that only a fool would believe that a Labour council is to blame for a Conservative government in a county of 5 Conservative MPs for the closure of a women's and children's unit and an A&E, with that women's and children's unit secured under a Labour government. But only a fool would think that. In regards to the campaign, of course it's not too late, and we should be encouraging our residents to feed into that consultation. And those who abdicate their own responsibilities on this will be remembered by our residents. But the reality is, Mr. Speaker, that there will, as it seems, will be one of the 2 options which will go forward, unless the government come forward with options to keep both our A&Es open and the Women's and Children's Unit. Training more doctors, more nurses, more consultants is the way forward, Mr. Speaker. We will not send a signal to our residents that there is no fight to be had. We may fail in that fight because those who make the decisions, both locally and nationally, may ignore us. But fight we must, and fight we will. The Council's campaign will, I hope, be cross-party. It has been the biggest Council campaign ever in the history of this Council, with 36,000 people pledging their support, dwarfed by any previous campaign. And we will take that fight to the health bosses. In respect of child sexual exploitation and child sexual abuse, as a parent and as a resident of this borough, of course, like everybody else in this room and indeed in our town, I want to get to the bottom of the questions that victims and survivors ask. To make it into a political football is not the way to do justice to this issue. We need to work together. We have set up a cross-party advisory committee with a non-Labour majority in order to work through. And of course, by definition, an advisory committee will advise. And an advisory committee can advise, it has advised, and there was unanimous support for that work. But as I said in my speech, not every action taken by this administration is published on Facebook, Twitter, or in the columns of the Shropshire Star, or on the airways of Radio Shropshire. We will come forward with sound and sensible response to the advisory committee's suggestion. We will do that as soon as perfectly possible. But it is not for politicians to appoint the chairman or chairperson of the inquiry. It is not for Labour councillors, Conservative councillors, or any other councillor in this chamber to set the terms of references to an inquiry as previously proposed by the opposition group. It is about working together, getting the inquiry away from us as councillors to an independent body, an independent organisation to deal with the issues. Please, please, let's work together on this important issue. It is sad, just in closing, it is sad that in a year that we have so much to celebrate, so much to embrace, so much to highlight, so many people in our borough to thank, so many organisations to recognise, that the Leader of the Opposition failed to say a single positive thing about our borough tonight.
Thank you, Leader. Item 14 on the agenda, the appointment to the Cabinet. Can I call on the Leader, Councillor Sean Davies, to notify the appointment of his Cabinet as per the schedule in Appendix B. And this will be seconded by Councillor Richard Overton.
If I could place the Council's attention to Appendix B in the papers of my new Cabinet with new portfolios. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Councillor Angela McClement for her service over the last couple of years and welcome Councillor Hilda Rhodes, who's been a councillor longer than I've been in existence, to the Cabinet, a lady of huge amounts of experience, dedication and loyalty, and I think of no better person who can fill the shoes of somebody like Angela, who's done a fantastic job over the last couple of years.
I'll endorse that.
Richard has endorsed that. Item 15, the delegation scheme. I call upon the Cabinet Member for People Services, Tourism and Partnership to reassert the Council's delegation scheme in accordance with the Constitution.
The exciting bit. Mr Speaker, within its constitution, Telford and Wrekin Council accepts the principle that decisions should be made at the lowest or most local level consistent with the nature of the issues involved. An important element in the practical implementation of this principle is an effective scheme of delegations encompassing all major levels of decision-making below that of the Council itself. Various Council functions have traditionally been delegated to committees, as defined in their terms of reference, subject to certain exceptions. These delegations give the committees sufficient powers to enable them to carry out these functions, whilst keeping matters such as major policy decisions at a function of the Council alone. As such, each committee may wield, on behalf of and in the name of the Council, all powers and duties vested in the Council in relation to the functions, services or undertakings or in pursuance of the Acts of Parliament delegated to it. Mr Speaker, I move that members reapprove, under the provision of Section 101 of the Local Government Act 1972, the discharge of council functions by committees as set out in the Council's Constitution dated 19th of January 2017.
Thank you, Ray. How are you, seconder?
Councillor Overton, second.
Councillor Richard. All those in favour? Please show. Unanimous.
It's not unanimous.
Oh, it wasn't.
Unanimous, no.
Oh.
It's been carried. It's been carried.
All right, Stephen. I've told you before, either go back to sleep. Just go back to sleep. It's easier for the council. Well, do you want me to lip read for you? I can see this year is going to be an interesting one, to say the least.
Item 16.
Item 16, the appointment to committees and boards. You've all got a list of members that are recommended for the different committees, and that I would like to take them all en bloc as they're going through each committee, each member. We shall be here till tomorrow morning, so I would like them to be taken en bloc. Would someone so move?
Mr Speaker, if I could propose them, as you say, on block. Can I also just refer members particularly to the delegation to allow for the monitoring officer, in consultation with the relevant group leader, to make in-year changes to those committees and for the terms of reference for those each committees too.
I'll second that.
It's moved and seconded. Are we all in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? No.
Carried.
The motion was carried. Item 17, programme of ordinary meetings of the Council. The leader has asked that we agree to these and that they be noted. There have been some changes due to changes in legislation as well, has been made to the Licensing Committee and the Health and Wellbeing Board. The scrutiny dates at this moment are provisional dates, so when you put them in your diaries, put a question mark beside of it. Are we all in favour of them? Will you show? Anyone against? Oh, carried. Well, members, that is the end of the AGM, the formal AGM.